Yeah, Lizzy, been a select member for a while, always got a big smile on her face. Very enthusiastic. Love every time. You can always, the energy that Lizzy brings is fantastic. So Lizzy, over to you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. So rather than just do the stuff, oh, this is what I do and this is who I help, I'm going to tell a few stories. So, and all related to leadership and being entrepreneurs and the skills that we have to have an entrepreneur. So I'll take you back to when I was born, which is 28 weeks. And I don't know if you can see that. I was born at 28 weeks with a 5% chance of survival. Now that set me up for determination no matter what. And that is a really good quality that we need to have in business, determination to go over the odds no matter. Obviously I can't remember because I was only in a cot, but I had nothing given to me. I was just put there to live or die, and clearly I lived. No idea what my birth weight was because I was too little to be weighed, and my mother knitted that in order for me to go home. So statistics, we could all read statistics, and I know obviously with your the Bismarck program and the scorecard, that's all really important, but sometimes it's important to not let the statistics stop us. So that 5%, I could have lied there thinking, well, I've got 90% chance of dying, I may as well just turn up now and stop, but I didn't. And that has been my defining moment for the rest of my life. Any hurdle that comes across, let's just get rid of it and just overcome it, and just not only think, how am I going to cover it, how high am I to go over that hurdle? So that's one first little tip. The second tip, I will take you back to the 12th of March 2012. I left the army 3 years ago after 25 years in the army to Lieutenant Colonel. On that day in March, I was standing on the tarmac, waiting to board a plane to Afghanistan. All I had in my pocket was a little angel, which I have here somewhere, with my little message on the back from my daughter Adina, who was 10 at the time, to say, "Come home, mummy, stay safe." I had a choice, but I never saw it as a choice. I had a choice whether to go to Afghanistan or not, but I knew I had to go, because if I didn't go, someone else could take my place, or would have to take my place, and they could come back in that coffin that we see on the news, draped in the Union Jack, being paraded through Wootton Bassett, and I could never have done that. So I had to get on that plane no matter what. Partly also because I was 8th generation army and being brought up in that just do what you need to do. But as I got on that plane, I looked around us, and I knew at the time 1 in 6 of those people would not be returning. And of those, the remainder 1 in 6 would come back with such severe injuries. So looking around this room now, can you imagine 2 of you would never come the end of this call, and another one would possibly be so severely injured that you never recognise them again. But I knew that wasn't going to be me, because I was there to do support healthcare for 6,000 troops. But as we came to land, the pilot came over the tannoy and said, the plane will go pitch black, and put your helmet on, put your body armour on, get in the brace position. He then came over and said, we're just about to be mortared, don't worry about it, I've done it before, I'll get you down safely, because this always happens. And it was just like we were in turbulence in those days, if you remember flying with turbulence. His calmness came over, and we thought, right, we're in the safe hands, it's going to be okay. So calmness is a really important quality as a leader, as an entrepreneur. But that point, I knew what courage was, not for us on the plane going to Afghanistan, but he was getting us down there, and that was the 5th time that week. So as we landed, it was like, whew, made it, hurrah. But I knew that he had to do that for 3 or 4 times a week for the following 6 months. So that to me was courage, doing something that you're scared to do, but you do it no matter what. Which brings us on to another bit of that tour, which is quite relevant now with all the awful stuff that's going on in Afghanistan. I was supporting a whole team, providing safe and effectiveness for the whole of Afghanistan. At the time, it was a very, very horrible place in the fact we were having soldiers killed 2 or 3 times a week. Because we are, as nurses, compassionate, we were treating them for their injury. Now we were navigating, I wasn't doing the clinical nursing, I was supporting them. They were navigating having Taliban in one bed and a soldier that they tried to blow up in the next bed. But their compassion came over, no matter what. They just saw that as somebody who had an injury that needed the best care. And when I left Afghanistan, we were awarded by the CQC, the Care Quality Commission, as an exemplar for global healthcare. So compassion is another tip. And as part of that, we have to work together. Whether we're working with our clients or we're working with a team, we have to collaborate. And that is another 100% skill that we have to develop. But also, the other thing we have to do is to create opportunities. So during my career, when I was offered to do a degree, which I did because I was told at school, you're too thick to go to university, be a nurse. So another tip, don't ever believe what you're told because it's not true. I was given an opportunity to do a degree and it was amazing, went well, got a first 9 months, and then I was offered to do a master's, and then I was offered to do a PhD. At the time, no nurses were doing PhDs because it was only doctors. So I decided to put up a case talking about hurdles and put up a case that nurses should do PhDs and I should be the first one. And I had so many hurdles to overcome because I am convinced that the funders, who I was very lucky to be funded, were wanting me to be the proving that nurses were not capable of PhDs. So I just jumped higher. And as part of that, I explored the impact of military life on families. And as a result of that, I was traveling around the world, supporting, presenting my research. And as a result, I was so passionate about supporting nurses in their empowerment that I was appointed Global Head of Nursing for the International Committee in Military Medicine. So it was such an honour to do that. And then I got appointed Principal Fellow of the Higher Education Academy for my contribution to global health of higher education. But that doesn't matter, they're just like awards you get, which is really great. But what's really important of that is it's important that we celebrate success. So how often do we boost other people up, but we don't boost ourselves up? So having that acknowledgement of the things that we achieve. So having those cheerleaders in our teams, and this group is a massive opportunity. We all support each other, and it's a great way to support each other as cheerleaders. Another defining moment was and this is how I'm doing what I'm doing now. I was bullied quite a lot in the army. Now, I take full responsibility for that. I was a complete victim, didn't realise it, and I was right for it. And I'm so grateful for every opportunity that created, because that has made me who I am now. One day in a meeting, I had had enough. I'd been doing a research project for 2 months. I'd been building the department, a new department I created for military nursing academic for 2 years. The night before, my boss had sent out an email which had gone to the whole of defence, completely destroyed my research, which he didn't even know about, but he just decided to do his own thing that was not research based. That's a whole nother story. And in that one email, he potentially destroyed the reputation of the whole department. So I was furious, and I don't normally get angry, as you well know. So the next morning, we had our departmental meeting, which I used to normally dread because I never wanted to speak up, because I've always felt I would be scared I'd be pushed down. And I told everyone before the meeting, I'm just going to say something. And they said, oh yeah, great, great, great. It's about some time somebody said something. So I stood up and I said my piece, and I did it in a very empowered but confident way. And I owned myself at that moment. And at that moment, when I knew enough was enough, and everybody around the table went quiet, they all started looking at their papers as if I didn't exist, which reinforced me even more that I was doing it for them too, because they were too scared to speak up. I vowed at that point I would get rid of toxic leadership, because it can destroy so many lives. So this is what I'm doing now. I now, as a coach, I help leaders stand tall, no longer small. I help them find their voice. So when they find their voice, everything changes. And by doing that, they feel confident, they feel empowered, and they support their teams to be the same. So there is no space for toxic leadership. And once they've done that, then their teams are empowered, and then I help them set their vision and their purpose, so that actually they know why they're on this planet. And as part of my legacy, I found that I had generated for PhDs. When I left the army, I found out on my dining out that they were funding nurses annually every year for a PhD. So it's just part of the course now. So now I coach people, I coach leaders one-to-one in a just to unpick their stuff, so that actually they then soar. I've had people have been promoted twice during my leadership program who've lost their way and suddenly stand up. One even got appointed financial director because he showed up so powerfully at the meeting, he didn't even apply for the job. The CEO said, I need that guy on my board. And then I do a group coaching program. And then I go into businesses to help them identify their vision and their purpose, and also help them embed it in every single person of the organisation. So that's what I do. I had to give a monthly workshop free once a month, and I've got one coming up in October about identity and belonging, because fitting in is the opposite of belonging, because you can only belong to yourself. If you fit in, you're that chameleon that just always is changing, not to yourself. So I did get a few medals while I was there, but what I want you to do today is just really think about something that you can celebrate, that you've achieved, because I'm sure you're very good at boosting other people, but you're not necessarily good at celebrating what you've achieved. And COVID has been an extraordinary 18 months. So the very fact you're here now, the very fact that you're building your business online or whatever you're doing, just shows the courage that you've got within you that you might not even realize. So love to have a conversation with you about anything I've discussed. And yeah, so my program is SOAR, because that's what we all want to do. Stand tall, no longer small, because we have everything within us. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing's ever broken. We just need to have a conversation in order to unpick all that. So thank you for listening.
Brilliant. Well done. Thank you very much, Lizzy. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that, yeah, very, very inspirational. And fitting in is the opposite of belonging. I like that. Yeah, very, very much. So really, really good. Let's see. Any questions for Lizzy? And I just need to change the view, because at the moment I'm not seeing everybody. So who's got a question for Lizzy, or Dr. Liz, as I often refer to her?
Yeah, it's interesting, the Lizzy bit, because when I first left the army, I didn't see it relevant to call myself doctor, because I was here to do what I did. And it's in fact, it was B&I with Kevin. He said, you've got to call yourself doctor, because that's who you are. And it's like Dr. Lizzy sort of became my kind of brand. So that's the only reason I'm using it, not for the ego side. It's just that it's sort of like become my brand, Dr. Lizzy.
Brilliant.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Nick.
That was brilliant, by the way. Plumbing, I've got some big boots to fill now, haven't I? From a rugby transition into the world of business, how hard did you find that? Because I know we always use sport transition into normal life is the biggest example of that is military transferring into civilian life. How did you find that? What was the biggest challenge there? Because you seem like it was you just taking it and just bumped yourself from there to there. But what was that journey like?
Hugely liberating.
Awesome.
I think, you know, I'd had an incredible career. It was amazing. But I think that moment when I stood up, I realized that at that point, I wanted to support others to stand tall and who they are. It's taken me a while, as Kevin knows, to kind of realize what I actually have been doing. But I think at that point, I thought, right, I don't want to have a boss. I felt I was in a box, that I was doing what compliance and all that stuff. And so at that point, I decided I'd set up my own business. But having said that, I never intended to be a business owner because at the time I was given loads of consultancy work. So this is marvelous, pay for what I do coaching, do workshops, what I love. And I didn't have a clue about a business. Never occurred to me that I might suddenly find client, it just vanished because COVID hit, that I would suddenly have to find my own clients. So that's been a massive learning curve, but something I've just really embraced, because the learning is phenomenal. And as a coach, I can only coach my clients way more than breakthroughs I've had myself, because as soon as I have my own breakthroughs, I can then hand them over to my clients. So constant learning, constant embracing it, peaks and troughs, but that's all part of riding the waves.
Brilliant.
Very good. Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Great question. Anyone else got a question for Dr. Lizzy?
Hi, Dr. Lizzy. You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
It was just a question in terms of the type of person that you help day to day.
Yes.
Is there a particular demographic, age, sex that tends to come to you for any particular reason, or age of business owner, for example?
Yeah, generally it's sort of like kind of 40s to 50s. It's generally, if it's business, they are frustrated that they just can't speak up. They know that they've got it in them, but they just need a bit of a boost. And then once they find that it's nothing to do, and often I find the reason I'm so passionate about toxic leadership is that all the clients I've had, they don't see their boss as a toxic leader. They see that I'm just not good enough. And then once we unpick that conversation and they suddenly own who they are, and they realize actually it's nothing to do with them, that they have it all. It's, as I said in I was talking, it's phenomenal just seeing how they just fly. And so entrepreneurs also, it's more those that just want to move up, but actually don't know how. But I make it clear I'm not a business coach. I'm very much into the mindset. Because if we believe in ourselves, we can achieve anything. And Emma Raducanu just showed that. You know, it's nothing to do. I mean, obviously she's an amazing tennis player, but the belief she had of staying in the present, every single point matters. She didn't care about, she probably wasn't focusing even on the next point. It was just every shot. And so once we start acknowledging who we are and acknowledging who we are inside. So yes, it's those who I can tell when I do sort of a vetting process by having conversations. I can see they're just not aware of how awesome they are. So, you know, I think they are taking responsibility. They want to make a difference. They're purpose driven, rather than the victims who the whole world's against them, and actually they wanted to that staying in that victim place is serving them for some reason.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. If there's no other questions.
Thanks everyone.
Okay.
And thank you so much for your lovely comments. It's so kind.
Thank you, Lizzy. That's fantastic. And I would encourage all of us to have a separate conversation with Lizzy and just find out how you can maybe work with Lizzy, how you can help each other. It's definitely worth doing.